So I'm Colinda Clyne. I'm the curriculum lead for Equity, First Nations, Métis, and New Education for Upper Grant. And I'd like to also introduce myself to you in a traditional manner. I'm the logic and play edition calls So when you introduce yourself in a traditional way, you say what your spirit name is and what clan you are and where your family is from.
Do you believe that younger generations should be more educated on issues that have happened in the past and now that have to relate with First Nations?
Absolutely. I think that if we look at how we're going to affect change, you can only change something if you know that it wasn't working in the first place. And so that's the part that I think is really important about education, is that we want young people to know what happened. And we also want to talk about good things that happen too. So we really focus a lot on things like the Indian Act and residential schools, and when people would lose their status or battles over treaties and land. But there's also really good things to celebrate, because if you look at what the purpose of the Indian Act and residential schools was, to get rid of indigenous people from this country. That was the purpose of them. And yet there's a resiliency and a reclamation and celebration of culture. And so I think that I wouldn't want to solely focus on all of the things that are terrible that we know. You need to know that, so that way moving forward you can do things better in a more positive way, but also celebrate the good things that are happening.
Residential schools are said to be one of the most important parts of Canadian history, so why do you think this topic is skipped over in the curriculum?
It's in the curriculum document, but I think that some teachers don't do it because there is an overfocus on World War I and World War II, because those were important points for Canadian history in the beginning of a distinctly Canadian identity on the world stage. However, I think that we need to give some airtime as well to what's happened to the people who've been on this land for thousands and thousands of years before any European explorers arrived here, and what happened to them as a result of contact, particularly residential schools, and issues around treaty and land.
If you were to change or add anything in the grade 10 history course, what would it be?
It would be to divide the time a little more equitably on issues that were happening in the country and not just on the wars. Because I know it's easy to get caught up in that from teaching history myself, that there's so much that you want to tell students about World War I and World War II that it could easily eat up the entire course. But what I would really want would be for teachers to take that time and make sure that while we're celebrating Canada's growth on the world stage, we need to be mindful of what was happening at home and how we were treating a variety of different groups, whether we're talking about women fighting to get the right to vote, Japanese or Ukrainian internment, and what happened to Indigenous peoples. That's just some of the examples.
So what are your thoughts on Justin Trudeau's efforts to reset Canada's relationship with Indigenous people?
I'm hopeful and optimistic. I think that he's moving forward in a good way. I was waiting with bated breath to see if he would follow through on the election promise of the inquiry for murdered and missing Indigenous women. And then last night when I watched the replay of him addressing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I was happy to see that he seemed to be having an emotional response when he was talking about how he felt about what had happened to so many people in residential schools, and in particular how he highlighted his own privilege that he came from, and that he couldn't imagine what it must have been like for Indigenous people who lost everything and went to a school that wasn't of their choice and where terrible things happened, including an attempt to eradicate